Today is Thursday, February 3rd, and welcome to the 8:30 show. I'm KJ, and every Thursday night you will find me here at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube at Metro Conservative Media. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. At the same time, I'm on Twitter and Facebook at the same page, Metro Conservative Media. Please like and share and join the conversation by commenting on this video. I will respond to your comments during the show. This is a show where I chat with various individuals about their conservative journey. Tonight, my guest is Berney Flowers. All right. How are you doing tonight?
Great.
Excellent, Berney. Yes, so Berney is running for Congress in Maryland's 2nd Congressional District. All right.
Thank you.
So, again, how are you doing tonight?
I'm feeling good. I
Good.
never
Good.
thought I'd see myself doing this, but here I am.
Yes, indeed. All right. So basically, I start each show with a random question and answer segment so the audience can get to know you a little bit better. So basically, it's a fun, rapid fire round of questions, and you just answer with the first thing that comes front of mind.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's see here. What are you most known for amongst your friends?
Wow. I'm boring. I really am.
You
I
said
am,
boring?
I am very, very boring.
Okay.
I raised my kids. Me and my wife are about to celebrate our 34th wedding anniversary next week. Just straight, regular American.
All right.
And
So,
I like it about
so
that.
as far as your friends or your buddies, they don't know Berney for one thing or another.
Well, I got a lot of friends and
Right.
a lot of buddies.
Okay.
I think most of them would tell you I'm a pretty trustworthy individual.
All right.
I'm that guy you can count on when things get tight.
Okay. Next question: city or suburbs?
As far as living,
Right. Which one do you prefer? As far as the first thing that comes to your mind, city or suburbs?
I'm more of a country boy.
Okay.
But I've lived everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent 35 years chasing the American dream through the military, and we've lived all over the place. Lived in Germany, been to Korea, you name it, I've been there and experienced it all. But I'm basically a country boy at heart.
All right.
But, I don't have anything against anybody. I just want to do well for everyone.
All right. All right. Next is as fast as you can. What quality do you value most in your friends? If you could think of the first thing that comes to your mind.
Loyalty.
Okay. All right. Next, mandatory vaccinations for kids 12 and older or parental choice? Which question do you?
Always parental choice.
Okay. Bigger world issue: racism or communism?
Communism.
All right. And homeschool or public school, if you had to choose one?
Well, that's a tough issue because a lot of people work hard and can't afford to take away from work to take care of their kids at home. But on the other hand, we're spending $18,000 per student in Baltimore City or in the schools in Baltimore, as you very well know. I think that money should follow the students.
Right.
And I think
if you had to choose homeschool or public school.
If I had to choose for my kids, well, I sent my kids to public school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then lastly, Al Green or Marvin Gaye?
Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, as I mentioned, that's something I do every show. It's a rapid fire round. So just you would just just a fun random question and answer period.
Well, you caught me by surprise, but I think I answered.
Yeah, you did. So very good. All right. So what our next portion or the bulk of our segment is this next round. So generally what I talk about on the show is people's conservative journey. And so, but this is a little different with you, Berney, because I want to talk about your campaign and just so voters can get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
But I also want to talk about your conservative journey. So, have you always been conservative, or is this something that you recently became a Republican?
My family's always been conservative.
Okay.
We're from the South,
Hmm.
and one of the very, very first memories I have was my family having discussions about the 72 election when I was 6 years old.
Hmm.
Walter Cronkite was on, and they were talking about, Nixon versus whomever. And my grandmother was a big Nixon fan. And I was too young to have anything to do with the discussion, but I was listening. And as I grew older, I started to realize, as growing up in the South, back in North Carolina, you know, you could graduate from high school, get a job at one of the local textile mills, buy yourself a Cadillac. Your wife could stay home, send your kids to college. You could build a life for yourself. And the Democrats, unfortunately, gave that away through globalization.
Now, let me ask you something, because the narrative that we get now is, the South people, Black people in the South have it, tough, and are discriminated against. And we already know the majority of African Americans vote for the Democrat Party. So, how did you, a country boy from the South, your entire family are Republican? How did that come about? Or where do you think that stemmed from? And what do
Well,
you say to the narrative that is painted mostly by the left, that Southern Black people in the South have it tough, and shouldn't vote Republican?
everybody has it tough.
Hmm.
And I learned a long time ago that everything that I accomplish is due to my hard work and my faith in God. And it's more my faith in God than my hard work. But the issue of the day is, if we sit around here and let somebody else control our narrative, we will never have anything.
Hmm.
And I knew that, for all the people that say that, well, you shouldn't vote for the Republicans and yada, 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 yada. Well, as you remember, there's about 200,000 graves right around in this area from the Civil War where um, they're dead Civil War soldiers who came to save us, save our ancestors, and make a way for us. Frederick Douglass was a Republican.
Hmm.
Abraham Lincoln. This is the party that freed us. And also people don't realize that the KKK was a militant arm of the Democratic Party.
Right.
And so folks need to understand that. And I have a background in information operations.
That's what I
And
want to talk about. I want to get some additional information from you there, because I know, as you mentioned, you have 34 years of experience in the DoD, DHS, and private sector. So, what made you leave that and run for Congress?
I couldn't stand it anymore.
Mm.
And there are wonderful people doing wonderful work all over the United States government. But the people that are in charge now, at the top of the food chain, talking about Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris, they have basically taken the power away from Customs and Border Patrol. They have taken away the power of us to regulate our own lives. Um, if you notice, I don't know if you're a fan of TikTok.
Somewhat. I know a little bit. I mean, I have a son, so he tries to get on there, but I don't. I don't. I won't let him put it on his phone. But I know,
I
I'm definitely aware of TikTok.
recommend you stay away from it.
Right.
TikTok
Yeah, that's what I
is
told
owned
him.
by the Chinese government. Anytime we do business with the Chinese government, whether it's TikTok, any company, whatever, you're dealing with communism, and they are not our friends. Um, we are allowing we are allowing our Americanism and our country to be taken away by people who hate us, and we're allowing 3,000 people, undocumented people, to come across the border, and we don't know where they are. And the people, the ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, they are frustrated because their power has been taken away. And I'm sitting there at the senior levels of DHS, seeing all this stuff, and I'm literally helping them to do things that I don't feel comfortable with. So I don't have anything against the individuals. I love the people I was working with. I respect them. But you can't do your job if you don't have a mandate to do so by your leadership. And our
What do you
leadership is
mean
taking
by
away
that?
our
As
power.
far as, because what you obviously and the people that you did work with every day know the job and know what needs to be done to get it to get it done and to get it done correctly.
Yes,
And you
ma'am.
get these mandates from higher up and the new administration. So what exactly were they saying to do that was contrary to what you all know what to do?
They, again, are allowing people to come across the border. Do you
Uh,
remember a while back ago, back around, must have been August time frame, there was these wonderful or terrible pictures of Haitians coming across the border, 15,000 people under a bridge, that sort of thing?
yes, I recall it.
Those people, we sent about 2,000 back to Haiti, and the rest are somewhere in the United States.
Wow.
We don't know where they are. Now, uh, we don't know if people are concerned with vaccinations. Those people are unvaccinated.
Hmm.
If that's a concern, people need to be aware of that.
Well, wait a
The,
minute. So you mean to tell me that people that are coming here illegally are not mandated to get vaccinations like the rest of us?
that's what I'm telling you. It's almost like the people at the top of the food chain are literally trying to break this country apart. I don't understand what they're doing, but I know that they're attacking our economy, and people need to wake up. So that was something as a person I got a commission up here. I can't show it to you because I'd have to move the computer. But in 1987, I took a commission from the United States military that basically said, I will do anything to keep this country running. And that commission is still valid.
Right.
It's a
Oh,
lifetime oath.
and so that's why you decided to run for elected office.
Well, somebody has to.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
Thank you.
and so as far as your background, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, you have a lot of experience, but how does that transpire into being a great candidate? So how does your background and experience make you a great candidate?
I like to say I know where the bones are buried. And what I mean by that, there is a monstrous amount of money, a huge feeding trough of money that is going to people all over this country from the federal government. The politicians are taking your money and using it for their purposes, and it's not getting to the regular folks. And I know where that money is. I know what can be done to audit that money and put it where it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
There should be no poor people in this country. There should be no homeless people in this country. But there are. Every time I drive through inner city Baltimore, I see tents. People out sleeping. It's 22 degrees outside and they're in tents. That's ridiculous in this country. Um, what else would make me a good candidate? Again, I just have a lot of background, a lot. I spent 10 years on the floor at NSA. I spent a lot of years overseas going to places that most people don't talk about. I've got a lot of friends in the business and a lot of people with really, really, really good ideas. But the issue is they are not allowed to do their job. There's a lot of patriots out there, and it's not just Republicans. They're Democrats, independents, people that want to do their job. They're frustrated. But just like, for example, this whole vaccine thing,
Hmm.
I did not get vaccinated. I chose not to. I've done my research. I felt that it was not good for me. However, there were people, like I'll give an example, a young female Coast Guard petty officer, pregnant, 14 years in the game, trying to make it to 20, get her retirement. She's pregnant, and they were trying to force her to take this unproven vaccine.
Well, right, we saw that in the papers. Thousands of military men and women are being forced out of the service because they refuse to get vaccinated.
Exactly. So I felt like someone like me with my retirement secured, I need to stand up for my brothers and sisters. Somebody needs to step up for them, and I guess it's going to have to be my turn.
Well, okay. And so what are the three top issues that affect your district and you plan to focus on? What are three of the top issues?
Crime, education, and jobs.
I see. Okay. And why did you pick those three? Well,
I can't stand to see another year pass, to see 300 plus murders of people, human beings, right here in Baltimore. It's terrible. We call ourselves followers of Christ. At least I do. And I'm
mhm.
not trying to get metaphysical or anything, but I know what I believe.
Yes.
And
So
if we're allowing 300 of our brothers and sisters to die every year, and we're not doing anything about it, that's inhuman. While
well,
we,
if you talk to Mayor Scott, which he put out a post today saying that people that talk about this stuff basically don't know what they're talking about, and it's due to uh, years and years of racial inequity.
everything has to be racial.
Right.
Really? That's a real old story. There's nobody holding anybody back. Matter of fact, the truth is, back to that information operations thing I was telling you about, there are people all over this earth who spend their whole day sending nasty, starting arguments on social media, making you think that they're Americans, and they're not. And their whole purpose is to cause dissension and division among the American populace. And they get paid to do that. To give an example,
Mm-hmm.
there's more engineers graduating from China every year than we have engineers, period. There's more A students in India than we have students. I'm not saying that China and India are bad, but I do know that they are competitors. And if we allow them to take over, they will. Another example, you go to Walmart, you take a look at the merchandise there, 9 times out of 10, everything there was made in China.
Right.
So we're buying this stuff, we're feeding the Chinese government, and they're building aircraft carriers with the intention of fighting us in the future. And we're dancing on TikTok.
Mm. Owned by the
Yeah.
CCP.
Yes, ma'am. So the idea, I think it was Sun Tzu that once said, the art of war is winning without fighting. And that's what they're doing to us. They're telling us to be angry and upset and yada yada and things aren't being fair. In the meantime, everybody's trying to get in here. They're fighting over, trying to climb over cages and throwing their kids over fences and all that sorts of things just to get to the United States.
Well, let me ask you something, because what do you say to a 22-year-old Baltimore City young adult living in poverty, seeing drug dealing and things going on in the neighborhood, a parent made, not no parental influence in the home, and they hear Mayor Scott on TV every other day saying this is due to racism? What would you tell that young guy? How can he get out of his situation or make his situation better?
I tell them to come talk to me.
Mm.
Because whatever Mayor Scott is saying, I'd be happy to give a counter argument to that. Where I came from, I shouldn't be here. I tell all my friends, when I, my old buddies that really know me well from the South, I should be standing in front of the Robertson County magistrate explaining why I'm late for the child support for my 2 illegitimate children. Now, I don't have any illegitimate children, but the issue of the day, and nobody's illegitimate, but my point is, if I can make it, anybody can.
So why? What happened to you where you would say that? As far as, have you had hard times, or what's something
No,
that you've overcome?
my family was poor, but we didn't know it. It
Mm.
was just a simple matter of pride. My mother, her philosophy was, it's not a matter of are you going to college. It's a matter of where are you going to college. She didn't care how I was going to get paid for, whatever. The issue is you will graduate. And my brother, sister, and I have all done well and had successful families, long histories of marriage, and we're still doing well. But the issue of the day is families have to stick together. And
Mm.
if you want your family to do well, this yourself. You got to be committed to them. And we're over here having kids and not being willing to take care of them. And that's not good. Children deserve to have two parents. I'm not saying male, female, whatever. Folks can do whatever they want to. But if you believe in the family, your child will be a whole lot better off. So that's how I see things.
Now, the current congressman has been in his position for 19 years. How do you see that? That's Dutch Ruppersberger. Yeah. How do you see that has affected his district?
Well, he's apparently gotten a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But when I ride through the district, I don't see anything that's changed. I see a lot of unhappy people. I see a lot of unused industrial capacity over in Dundalk and the ports. I see gerrymander. I see our district divided up into a point where Black people have no power. And the right thing to do, if folks wanted to be fair, if Mayor Scott wanted to be fair, why don't you advocate for consolidating that power into one district so the city has its own congressional district? Instead, he, Mr. Pro-Black, apparently advocates for our power to be broken up. So we have no power, and that's why nothing changes.
All right. And when you say we have no power because we're broken up, I mean, we predominantly vote one way. So how would changing the districts change our power?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people who know that power comes from mass. And the fact that they can vote a certain way and actually bring more money and resources, I think they'll eventually figure that one out. Mm-hmm. But if you take these people and divide them up into little pieces, they will never have any autonomy. And if you notice, you've got Ruppersberger, you've got the other two in District 1. District 3. I'm having trouble remembering their names because they're kind of forgettable for me.
Right. And Fume, is it Fume and Van Hollen?
Yeah. No, okay. Van Hollen's the senator.
Right. Okay.
But back to Mfume, even he says that the power should be consolidated into one district. He could be a lot more effective if he had the power and the resources, but they're not giving it to him. And as long as they keep us Black people divided and thinking that America is against them, we'll always be lost, and we'll always be on the bad end of history.
All right. And speaking of the other congressmen, how do you plan to work with the rest of the Maryland delegation as the lone Republican?
I would be happy to work with the rest of the Maryland delegation. My hope is that I won't be the lone Republican. Right. But if I am, they're going to find out that I'm a very disagreeable person if I find that the American people are being mistreated.
All right. Well, it doesn't get any more clear than that. That's what you're sent there to do, to make sure that the American people are being treated well. So I certainly agree with that. And then as far as, initiatives, so day one, when you are in office, do you have any plans or any initiatives that you can think of that you would try to get started right away?
The first thing we got to do is get past this COVID thing. Mm-hmm. And here's my perspective. When we started this back in 2020, we didn't know what we were getting into. Nobody really knew. But we've got some different science now. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we've got to do is get our kids back in school. And we got to get them in a situation where they're not afraid anymore.
Right.
I was reading an article today, a scientific article, and it's basically saying that kids wearing masks, they're breathing in their own particulates. That's not healthy. Mm-hmm. They'd be better off having COVID than breathing in what their body is trying to get rid of. And if you breathe that in over and over again, you're going to pick up a respiratory infection. The next thing you know, your kid's going to be sick. And the scientists know that, and the CDC knows that, The data is constantly changing. And I say, Dr. Fauci, if I'm not mistaken, has been in office since 1981. He's been in office since 1981.
Yeah,
He's got,
HIV/AIDS.
yeah, how come he hadn't solved that problem?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a $50 billion budget, but he hadn't solved AIDS. He hadn't solved the common cold. He hasn't solved anything, but he's got an awful lot of money to do all that sort of stuff. On the other hand, there's a lot of other younger scientists with different ideas. Let's give some other people a chance to attack some of these problems. And in the meantime, I have friends that I live next to. They have, small kids going to middle school, elementary school, and they're afraid. And they're being taught to wear these masks all the time. And you know as well as I do, kids need to see each other's faces. We don't need to raise a generation of children that are afraid of everything. We'll never, ever recover from this. And people are having mental health problems and things like that. I got a chance to sit in on the school board meeting for the state the other day, about 2 weeks ago. And they argued and argued. I felt so badly for them because nobody talked about education. It was all about masks. And the kids are suffering. And they're going to continue to suffer until we show some courage, make some decisions, and move forward.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
And one thing I wanted to ask you is about voting. This has been a huge issue in Congress. This so-called voting rights bill that the Biden administration has been pushing, stating that for photo ID is basically they've been pushing against it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that in order to drive, I have to have a driver's license. I think that in order to get married, you have to have a marriage license. I think in order to vote, you should at least show some sort of ID. Back to that idea of 3,000 people coming across the border every day. Do you know in New York now they're planning on allowing non-citizens to vote?
It already passed.
Yeah. So basically, we're saying that if you can say whatever you wish, and you don't have to be in America, you don't have to be an American to vote as an American. You could be from somewhere else, and everybody's got something to say about our business. And pretty soon, we won't have any business if we continue to allow other people to set the tone in our own country.
Absolutely. So, as we draw closer to the end of the program, what are you looking for as far as your campaign? Is there anything people can help with, or are there any announcements you'd like to make, any events that you have coming up? Please share.
Well, I've got a website, and it's, BerneyFlowersForCongress.com. Oh, you already got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And so just if you would, please spread that word about. I'm a rookie campaigner here. I don't know everything, but my heart is pure. I'm trying to do the right thing. And we've all got to step up. Otherwise, I don't know what will become of us. But I'm going to fight to the end. And it's not just about this election. I'm going to be a thorn in their side until I die.
All right. Absolutely.
And I ain't planning on going anywhere.
Good. Well, I am happy to hear that. I was excited when you announced that you were joining, that you were throwing your hat in the ring. And so it should be an interesting election season.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So let me see here. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Again, we are all over social media under Metro Conservative Media. So like, share, and leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Check us out on the web at www.metroconservativemedia.com. We love to get your feedback. Again, I hope to connect with you next Thursday at the same time. Wishing you warm days and starry nights. Good night.